All right, guys, can we start the session? Am I audible to all of you? Is the voice is loud and clear? All right, perfect. Okay. So, guys, we'll wait for some more participant to join. Any questions we can discuss in the first 5 minutes? So I'll unmute one by one. Let me stop the recording for a moment. Okay. Right. Okay. So, guys, today in this session, we are going to see how you're going to handle the questions related to international relations and diplomacy. We have already discussed the details of this, so we will go faster. So you can see with when we move on, when we take more sessions, I will be discussing less and you are discussing more after the session. So that's what I want to do. So by the time we complete the session, the complete discussions will be done by the team. That means you guys only. Okay. So the session length and everything remain the same, that we have the 2.5 hour session. But when we started, I used to discuss for 1 hour and then I give it to you. But now things have changed. Now you are taking the initiative and that's really good. So now I just need to discuss this 20 minutes, 25 minutes only. So that's why I'm going faster also. Initially, we went slower. We were discussing each and every concepts, but now you know my approach and everything, what you need to do, everything. So things are very clear. So there is no point in wasting too much of time me discussing. So we will be focusing more on your contributions. Okay. So here we are going to focus on handling questions related to international relations and diplomacy. And as a civil servant, understanding India's foreign policy and global role is very critical, and they will definitely check you on this. Especially, we are living in a world where international cooperation is very much essential for addressing challenges like climate change, trade disputes, geopolitical tensions. So they will ask you questions related to geopolitical tensions, the trade disputes, the climate change issues, and all those. Okay. So India's relation with other countries and international organizations shape its domestic policies also. So it's very important to show that you can think about all these strategically, and you understand the global issues and you have the solutions also. Remember, it's not about answering a question. It's about you are showing the qualities that they are looking for as a civil servant in the interview. So it's interviews about acting. So we have the structure and we know the questions that they are going to ask. We have common questions and the structure. So you will be working on that, and you will be presenting in front of them that 20 minutes. So it's just like that 20 minutes you're going to act in front of them. So in my interviews also, I was asked how India should balance its national interest with the need to international cooperation, particularly in areas such as trade and climate agreements, etc. So guys, it's very important to show that you can take a balanced approach and propose solutions that align with national interest, at the same time looking for global partnerships and other things. Okay. So you need to be in a position to think critically, strategically, and you should be in a position to demonstrate also. So let's look at the key concepts. Okay, sorry, I forgot to share the PPT. Wait. Okay, so yes, let's look at some of the key concepts. So when we talk about national, first is national interest, right? So every country's foreign policy is driven by its national interest. So which include the economic growth, the security aspect, and the global influence, etc. So civil servants must ensure that India's diplomatic efforts are aligned with these national interests. So any answer that you're giving, that should have that connection with the national interest. Okay, now coming to strategic partnership. Building a strong bilateral and multilateral partnership is very crucial for advancing the national interest. So India's relationship with countries such as United States, Russia, Japan, and neighboring countries like China and Pakistan are important for trade, the security aspects, the geopolitical balance, etc. Now coming to global institutions, again, you'll be getting questions related to UN, WTO, IMF. Okay, so all these will play a key role in global governance. So India's active participation in these institutions help to influence the global decision and also to protect its own interest as well. So there again, you will be getting question related to that. Coming to multilateral diplomacy, see that involve working with multiple countries to address global challenges such as climate change, nuclear disarmament, and global health crisis, etc. So it requires consensus building and negotiation skills to reach agreements that benefit all the parties. Now, for example, if you are asked how India should strengthen its relationship with a specific country, what you can say is India's national interest in this relationship was driven by the need for economic cooperation and scrutiny. So you're talking about the national interest. And then you can say, I would propose strengthening strategic partnership by increasing bilateral trade and investment opportunities, as well as, enhancing cooperation in defense and technology. Like that. That's a strategic partnership. And if it is about law enforcement, right, again, international relations and diplomacy might involve working with other countries on issues like you get questions like cross border terrorism, cross border crimes, cyber crimes. So, as an IPS officer, you may need to collaborate with foreign agencies to combat, transnational issues and threats such as trafficking or, terrorism. These kinds of questions can be asked, which again connected to international relation. So let's look at some of the method in which you can answer or the structure. Guys, first what you need to do is identify the issue, okay, and then same structure as what we are following. Analyze the India's interest on that. Now propose the solutions, promote cooperation. So these are the four dimensions that you need to look at when you get questions related to international relation. So identify the international issue first. So clearly define the global challenge or diplomatic issue that needs to be addressed. Now, then after that, explain how the issue affects India's economic security or strategic interest. And then you talk about a practical solution that involve building alliances, engaging negotiations, or leveraging international organizations. Then you highlight the importance of fostering global partnerships while ensuring that India's interests are protected. Okay, so that's something which is very important. So always again I repeat, start by clearly defining the global challenge or diplomatic issue which is involved. So it could be a trade dispute, it could be a climate agreement negotiations, or it could be any geopolitical tension. So make it very clear, and then analyze that impact. So explain how the issue affect India's national interest. How does it impact India's economy, security, or the global standing, the positioning? Then talk about the diplomatic solution. After analyzing the issue, propose the diplomatic solutions that involve building strategic partnerships, engaging in negotiations, leveraging India's role in international organization to achieve its goals. So, guys, these are the things that you need to articulate and mention there. In case if you don't get any specific answer, these are the points I hope you might have written down. Should be mentioning these, okay? And then you can talk about promoting global cooperation. Last step, finally, emphasize on the importance of promoting global cooperation to address the issue. Ensure that India's interests are protected, and this could involve multilateral diplomacy or bilateral negotiation also. So, for example, if you are asked how India should approach climate change negotiation at the United Nations, suppose you got a question. So what you can do, the challenge you can say first. So the challenge is that global climatic change agreements often place a heavy burden on developing countries like India, which need to balance environmental sustainability with economic growth. Right? And then you can say India's national interest is to ensure that the climate agreements do not hinder its development goals while contributing to the global climate action. So to address this, I would propose that India advocate for differentiated responsibilities in climate agreements, where developed countries take greater responsibility for emission reductions. And then you can say India can also promote global cooperation by investing in renewable energy and sharing sustainable technologies with other developing countries. What best you can give beyond this? So if you can just write it down also, and keep it as a ready-made answer in case if it is asked. To one of my friend, they have asked how he will something like how India should manage its relation with China in the context of border tensions and economic competition. Okay, so what he said is, yeah, he explained that India's national interests lie in maintaining security along the border, at the same time promoting trade and economic cooperation. So both are important. And he also proposed a dual approach. Guys, these words are very important. So security on one side, economic cooperation on the other side, trade again, and dual approach that involve engaging in diplomatic talks. Dual approaches, engaging in diplomatic talks on one side, and to resolve this border issues at the same time, strengthening economic ties with multilateral, through the various multilateral platforms like WTO, like that. Okay, so guys, I'm giving you the idea how you can present your answers, and everything else we can solve in the one-to-one sessions. Now coming to law enforcement. See, again, in law enforcement, international relation play a very critical role in addressing, transnational threats such as terrorism, cybercrime, and human trafficking. So, if you see dealing with cross-border terrorism, you see a terrorist network often operate across borders. There is no limit, and especially in the present day, right? So especially more of cyber crimes are there. So that makes it very much essential for law enforcement agencies to collaborate with foreign counterparts to share intelligence and coordinate various operations. India's partnership with countries like US, Israel, and various other European nations are very important, vital for combating terrorism. Just one minute. Okay. Now, coming to addressing cybercrime. See, cybercrime is a global issue that requires international cooperation to track down the hackers. Okay, so very much it's spread across different countries, and to prevent cyber attacks and to secure the critical infrastructure, you definitely need the cooperation of other countries as well. So, Indian law enforcement agencies need to work with international bodies such as Interpol, foreign cybersecurity agencies to tackle cyber threats. So, these are again things which you need to remember and note it down, prepare on this. Now, coming to trafficking and drug smuggling. See, human trafficking and drug smuggling are major challenges that often involve international criminal networks. Law enforcement officers must collaborate with foreign agencies to track the movement of traffickers and smugglers. Dismantle criminal networks and rescue victims, etc. So again, that is very important. So let's suppose if you got a question, let me give you an example. If you are asked how you would address cross-border terrorism as an IPS officer, this question was asked to many of my friends many times. So it's a general question. You, as an IPS officer, you need to address cross-border terrorism. So first, what you'll say, challenge, then national interest, and then solution, and then cooperation. So you'll say the challenge is that terrorist organizations often operate across borders, and that makes it difficult for a single country to address the threat alone, right? And then you will say India's national interest is to ensure that its borders are secure and that terrorist networks are dismantled. So that is your national interest. And you also need to say the solution, diplomatic solution. So to address this, I would propose strengthening intelligence sharing partnerships with countries that have experienced in counterterrorism, such as the United States and Israel, and coordinating joint operations to disrupt terrorist activities. So I would also work with international organizations like Interpol to enhance cooperation in trafficking and apprehending terrorists globally. Again, to one of my friend, they have asked how he will handle a situation where an international drug cartel was operating across Indian border. So, see, you can think about it, prepare an answer, but I'll tell you the answer what he have given, or structured in our format also briefly. Okay, so he explained that, or I'll tell you, you can explain that you will collaborate with law enforcement agencies in neighboring countries, right, and share intelligence on the cartel's activities, and work with international bodies to dismantle the network, etc. So that's what you need to focus on, and then develop on it based on the structure which I have given to you. Coming to this, with respect to governance, we can also look at that. See, when it comes to governance, which all areas it is important? The trade, climate change, right, and then global security aspect, even global health crisis, etc. So uh, let's start with trade agreements. So, India's trade agreements with other countries impact its economy, job creation, and industrial growth. So, civil servants must ensure that trade deals benefit India's industries and workers while promoting international trade and investment. Correct? And then coming to this global health crisis, see, during a global health crisis such as pandemic, international cooperation is essential for sharing medical research, securing vaccines, and ensuring equitable access to healthcare. So, civil servants play a key role in negotiating partnerships with global health organizations. Now, coming to the climate change negotiation, see, climate change is a global challenge that requires multilateral diplomacy. India needs to balance its development needs with international climate commitments. Proposing innovative solutions such as promoting renewable energy or advocating for differentiated responsibilities is very crucial. So again, coming to international security partnerships, India's security partnership with countries such as United States, Japan, Russia are very important for defense cooperation. If you see technology transfer and counter-terrorism efforts like that. So strengthening these relationships ensures India's strategic security, right? And for example, if you're asked how India should approach a trade agreement with a neighboring country, suppose you got this question. So you need to talk about the four steps. The challenge here is what? It is basically to ensure that the trade agreement benefits India's industries while promoting regional cooperation. Then you say India's national interest is to increase exports, create jobs, and attract investment. So to address this, you can say I will propose negotiating tariff reductions for key Indian exports, ensuring that Indian industries are protected from unfair competition, and promoting joint ventures in technology and manufacturing like that. And then you can also say I would also emphasize the importance of building long-term economic ties with the neighboring country to foster regional stability and growth. Okay, to one of my friend in one of his interview, it was asked like how India would manage its trade relationship with the European Union post Brexit. So you can think about it. But what I'll tell you what he answered. He explained that India's focus should be on securing favorable trade terms for its industries, particularly in technology and pharmaceuticals. So, while building a strategic partnership with both the UK and EU at the same time. Okay, now I'll give you one of my personal experience also here. You follow the same structure only, right? So, I was asked how I will manage India's relation with the United States, particularly in the context of trade disputes. So, you think about it, what you will say. You can develop your answer. Here, when we talk about the challenge, national interest, etc., it depends on the challenge you identify and you set, depending on the context. Okay. So here I began by identifying the challenge, explained that trade disputes between India and US were affecting key sectors such as technology and agriculture. And then I explained how the issue affected India's national interest, including economic growth, job creation, access to US technology and markets. And then I proposed solution by suggesting that India can engage in bilateral negotiation to resolve the trade disputes, focusing on reducing tariffs, expanding market access, enhancing cooperation in technology and innovations like that. And finally, I emphasize the importance of maintaining a strong strategic partnership with the United States, particularly in areas such as defense, counterterrorism, and climate change, basically to promote long term global cooperation. Now, see what you can tell in conclusion. See, in conclusion, you can say international relations and diplomacy are critical for advancing India's national interest in a complex global environment. Now, when answering questions about international relations, make sure to identify the global challenge, analyze India's interest, propose diplomatic solutions, and emphasize the importance of global cooperation. So, what do you need to do now? Practice questions. This is an assignment. Take up any of the international issue. Bring in the structure and record a video and send to me and also send to the group. So that's about the session, guys. And I'll unmute one by one now. We can have a Q&A and we can also have discussions. Okay, let me stop the recording.